Dear friends, and right now we're waiting for the next speaker. It's Ganguly Taposhri, Doctor of Mathematics, the Theosophical Society of England, the UK. Dr. Taposhri Ganguly was born in India, member of Indian Theosophical Society, candidate of Statistics Sciences. She educated in the University of Strathclyde, Glasgow. With her thesis being mathematical aggregation of possible expert ideas. Right now, Dr. Taposhri works in a consulting company in London, and her specialty is building model of people's behavior, article based on HPB studies. Dear friends, welcome to Madam Ganguly Taposhri, PhD in Mathematics, Statistics, Theosophical Society of the United Kingdom, the Great Britain, London, with her report Kundalini Integration and Factors Affecting People's Consciousness.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My deepest gratitude to one and all. It is a pleasure and an honor to be a part of the Congress today. I will be sharing thoughts around Kundalini, Kundalini Yoga, and the impact it has on us. Kundalini is a known and a very familiar word to most theosophists around the world. Within these theosophical texts, Blavatsky defined Kundalini Shakti as the power of life, one of the forces of nature, that power that generates a certain light in those who sit for spiritual and clairvoyant development. It is a power known only to those who practice concentration and yoga. Kundalini is called the serpentine or the annular power on account on its spiral-like working or progress in the body of the ascetic, developing the power in himself. It is an electric, fiery, occult, or photic power, the great pristine force which underlies all organic and inorganic matter. According to her, there is a relationship between Kundalini, the heart, and Buddhi. In the first fragment of The Voice of the Silence, it is stated, "Let not thy heaven-born, merged in the sea of Maya, break from the universal parent soul, but let the fiery power retire into its innermost chamber, the chamber of the heart and the abode of world's mother." In the footnote, she adds, "The power and the world mother are names given to Kundalini, one of the mystic yogi powers. It is Buddhi considered as an active instead of a passive principle, which is generally, when regarded, only as vehicle or cascade of the Supreme Spirit Atma. It is an electro-spiritual force, a creative power, which when aroused into action can easily kill as it can create." Blavatsky does not relate the awakening of this force with the methods followed by tantric traditions. According to her, the awakening of Kundalini is the result of the activation of Buddhi, which takes place in the heart. The heart is regarded by her as the organ of the spiritual consciousness. As she wrote, "The heart is the center of the spiritual consciousness, as the brain is the center of intellectual consciousness. But the spiritual consciousness cannot be guided by a person, nor can its energy be directed by him until he's completely united with Buddhi Manas." In the text, Kundalini, an Occult Experience by G.S. Arundel, he writes that Kundalini is more or less active in all life. It is the fire of life and therefore flows through it all. But it may flow either as a gentle stream, simply vitalizing, or it may be directed into special channels and become a raging torrent. Let us hope subordinated to a great purpose so that the raging is a purposeful, disciplined raging, though a raging nonetheless. Kundalini flows in minerals, vegetables, animals, and human kingdoms in ascending degrees of vitality, but except in rare cases as a gentle, fructifying stream of fire, bathing, as it were, the whole of the vehicle. Also, according to Blavatsky, the third eye corresponds with the pineal gland in the brain. So the latter is affected by the awakening of Kundalini. There are 7 cavities in the brain. The sixth cavity is the pineal gland, also hollow and empty during life. The granules are precipitated after death. The pineal gland corresponds with the manas until it is touched by the vibrating light of Kundalini, which proceeds from Buddhi and then becomes Buddhi manas. The fires are always playing around the pineal gland, but when Kundalini illuminates them for a brief instant, the whole universe is seen. In energy medicine, a scientific basis, James Oshman says, the pineal gland is the primary magnetoreceptor. Between 20 to 30% of the pineal cells are magnetically sensitive. Exposure of animals to magnetic fields of various intensities alters the secretion of melatonin, the electrical properties of pineal cells, and their microscopic structure. Hence, it is believed that the pulsations of the geomagnetic field caused by Schumann resonance may be detected by the pineal gland. If we come to think and discuss about Kundalini and the human body, then it is postulated by researchers, including Jean Lim, that there are three key differences between Kundalini and other energies. And these three key differences are frequency, form of interaction, and whether the energy is temporarily or permanently integrated in us. The first point of differentiation is frequency. Frequency is defined as the number of complete oscillations per second of energy as sound or electromagnetic radiation in the form of waves. As Kundalini is hypothesized as a photon exchange, this postulation that Kundalini is light energy vibrating in a specific frequency is supported by the quantum theory that only photons with the same frequency can interact with each other. In 2011, an article published in New Scientist entitled "They Do It with Mirrors" under a principle called stimulated emission. Only photons of a given frequency can trigger emission of photons with the same frequency. Specific frequencies and patterns of electromagnetic radiation regulate the DNA, RNA, and protein synthesis, alter protein shape and function, and control gene regulation, cell division, cell differentiation, morphogenesis, hormone secretion, nerve growth, and function. Also, from her years of direct experience as an energy healer and educator, Francesca McCartney observes that different energies carry different color frequencies. She says, Kundalini energy always carries the color opalescent sheen, an observation McCartney uses to decode the various types of energy frequencies that are vibrating in a person's field. Since color comes in frequency bands, perhaps color is our perceptual shortcut to discern specific frequencies of electromagnetic energy. Another point of difference between Kundalini and other universal energies is the form of interaction. The Kundalini energy arises from a photon exchange at the quantum level, whereas other energies arise from interaction between our electromagnetic fields and scalar waves from the universal source, where information is enfolded into scalar waves and distributed to our body's electromagnetic fields. In her book, The Biology of Kundalini, Jana Dixon states that scalar waves transmit information, not energy, and maybe the point of fundamental intersection where matter and consciousness influence each other. Oshman in 2000 has an interesting perspective about scalar waves. He says, when the body comes into anatomical and energetic balance with the field of gravity, the biomagnetic fields may partly cancel each other out, creating scalar and/or vector potentials. He speculates that an individual capable of generating significant scalar waves would be relatively protected from negative effects of environmental energies. Interestingly, Valerie Hunt says that the scalar energy cannot be stored indefinitely and must be recreated every time, which may infer a third point of differentiation between Kundalini and other universal energies, that other energies are temporarily generated and emitted, whereas Kundalini is permanently integrated within us. Within the human lives that we have, let us pause to look at Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga in 3HO or in Sikh Dharma is regarded as an essential spiritual practice. It involves multitude of meditation sets that include various breathing techniques, body postures and movements, hand positions, mental and devotional foci, and reverent chanting, which each set intended to transform a specific aspect of a person's physical, emotional, and spiritual makeup. It is worth noting here that this practice of Kundalini Yoga is one of the many forms and practices of this yoga. There are several others that are embedded within the Tantra school of practices, amongst others. Another theory says meditation causes changes in brain physiology because it integrates the right and the left brain. Sanella in 1987 presented a report of a study by Hiroshi Motoyama showing that in ordinary consciousness, the micromotion of the left brain is 50% greater than the right. However, when subjects go in deep meditation, the micromotion in the right brain and the left brain becomes nearly equal. Furthermore, when the brains are in perfect balance, the subjects feel profound peace and tranquility. One hypothesis is this, that the coherent heart vibration that creates resonant entrainment in the heart, the brain, and the breath is the primary cause of Kundalini awakening. And heart-based activities such as meditation, chanting, and the generation of love and positive emotions can produce these coherent heart rhythms. These activities form the core of Kundalini yoga practices. The premise that coherent heart vibrations that create resonant entrainment in the heart, brain, and breath is the primary cause of awakening is based on several sources, many of which are studies conducted by HeartMath that highlight the important role of the heart in orchestrating our entire system. McCarty in 2003 states, the heart generates the largest electromagnetic field in the body. The electric field is about 60 times greater in amplitude than the brain waves, and the heart's magnetic field is around 5,000 times stronger than that produced by the brain. This is pretty much in line with what Helena Petrovna Blavatsky had written and said. McCarty also says that the heart is the most powerful generator of rhythmic information patterns in the body, which acts effectively as the global conductor in the body's symphony to bind and synchronize the entire system. There is apparently a strong correlation between heart rhythm and emotional state. A calm, peaceful, harmonious, and highly intuitive feeling state in which one becomes aware of one's electrical body and of the minute currents flowing throughout. This state associated with the coupling or entrainment or phase locking of a variety of electrical and mechanical rhythms, including the heart, respiration, autonomics, and the baroreceptor feedback loop, goes into the brain. The heart appears to have a direct and immediate effect on the brain activities. McCarty says the heart is in a constant two-way communication with the brain, but in fact sends more signals to the brain than vice versa. There are approximately 40,000 sensory neurites in the human heart involved in relaying information to the brain, and the input from the heart to the brain directly affects the activity of the frontocortical areas and the thalamus, driving our perceptions, thought processes, and emotional experiences. It appears that brain rhythms, especially alpha beta, as well as lower frequency brain rhythms, naturally synchronize to the heart's rhythm. Therefore, a change in the heart vibration can directly affect the brain activities of our entire physiology. In addition, the heart communicates information to the brain and throughout the body via electromagnetic field interactions, and electromagnetic waves generated by the heart are immediately registered in the brain waves. The primary cause of Kundalini awakening is hypothesized to be coherent heart vibrations oscillating at a resonant frequency that create resonant entrainment between the heart, the brain, and the breath. These coherent heart rhythms are triggered by heart-based activities such as meditation, chanting, the generation of love and other positive emotions. Furthermore, focused thought or intent can direct and amplify these effects. The impact of Kundalini yoga has been studied in literature. The global population aging has been found to result in increasing rates of cognitive decline and dementia. Thus, effective, low-cost, and low side effect interventions for the treatment and prevention of cognitive decline are urgently needed. One study investigated the effects of Kundalini yoga training on mild cognitive impairment. The Kundalini yoga group showed short and long-term improvements in executive functioning as compared to other therapies, and broader effects on depressed mood and resilience. In the training program, the Kundalini yoga group engaged in a 16-minute Kundalini yoga class per week and a daily 12-minute Kundalini Kriya meditation and homework assignment. Each 60-minute Kriya, Kundalini Yoga, was conducted by the same instructor and followed the following structure. It was tuning in for 5 minutes, warming up, breathing techniques, which are also called pranayama, the Kriya itself, meditation, the rest, the shavasana, and the closing. Standardized handouts and CDs were given to the participants for their 12-minute home practice of the Kriya, and huge results, positive results, were found on the participants who followed this technique. And the meditation was repeated finger movements or mudras and chanting of the mantra Satanama, meaning birth, life, death, rebirth. They were first chanted aloud and then in a whisper and then silently for a total of 11 minutes, followed by a final 1 minute of breathing, deep breathing relaxation accompanied by visualization of light. So in conclusion, the objectives of the Theosophical Society are to encourage the study of comparative religion, philosophy, and science, and to investigate unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in human beings. One potential approach in unpacking these potentials rests with the practice of Kundalini Yoga, of course, under proper guidance. I do believe, like many other researchers and practitioners, that Kundalini is a much greater phenomena than what science can define and explain. It is, in its very essence, Kundalini is likely to be much more than the energy and experience and perhaps a part of consciousness. Christopher Hills in 1990 wrote, and he called Kundalini a byproduct of consciousness and stated that Kundalini is a basic component of life, and it is only when it moves from one place to another that we sense or feel it as energy. To call it Kundalini energy is therefore a misnomer. Kundalini is made of consciousness, and the actual sensation is merely a message of our consciousness passing through the psychic veil or skin, which acts as a membrane between one world of experience and another. With this, I would like to thank each one of you for listening in, and thank you, Virginia, especially for making this happen.
Dear Dr. Ganguly, thank you very much. We thank you for this fountain of ideas which sparkles through your lecture. The esoterical research combined with analytic statistics give this effective synthesis and possibilities to study, to research, not only for theosophists, but also for scientists. Kundalini and consciousness. The formulation of your lecture is amazing. The Kundalini passes through the psychic veil and acts as a membrane. The agent between two worlds of senses are just amazing. Thank you very much for your insightful lecture, for explaining us what Kundalini is. Thank you very much, dear Taposhri Ganguly.